Gotham Season 3, Episode 5, Anything for You. This is a pretty fun episode. I think we got to see a very interesting climax to this whole Enigma Butch situation, which honestly didn't end the way I was expecting. There were a lot of twists and turns in there where it's like, oh, I busted you this way, and so now you got to do this, and then it turns out that that was a trick, in itself, and Ed just wanted to get Butch out of the way because he felt that he was going to be an issue, which led to Tabitha deciding that she was going to save Butch from being arrested. So now they may or may not be on the run together. I would assume, considering it's Tabitha, she was probably able to kill whoever she needed to kill without them seeing her face. Although she's super hot, they'd probably be able to find her. But I like this episode. I thought it was really cool. And something they did, and I wanted to talk about this early on, but the stuff that they did, and they did this before I didn't mention it because it was like, oh, that's like a minor thing. That was just like a little moment. But they made a very serious moment in this episode between Penguin and Riddler. And it seemed like they were going to kiss at the end of this episode, but they hugged, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but I'm like, at this point, it should, because otherwise that's just like an after thing to do to make it seem like it's going to be that sort of way. And I don't know, people who like have super prissy attitudes, I guess, might not like it. But I would actually like that, because I like both the characters. I always thought that they were awesome together, but I never considered them being more than friends, if I'm being totally honest. But the way, especially this episode, the way that they hinted at it, especially during that ending scene, I thought for sure, I was like, holy crap. And then he hugged him, and I was like, I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't kiss, because I'm like, that's a kiss moment in literally any other series, but they have to build it up, I guess. So that really surprised me. I was like, alright, they kind of had that moment, and that could have been like just a little thing, because they kind of do that in TV a lot, where people just get like super close to each other when they're talking for like no good reason, as if they can't hear. So it could have just been a TV thing where they always have actors get real close for no reason, whether it's serious or not serious. They're just always like this for no good reason. Like half of television is people looking like they're about to kiss. But in this episode, it was like, no, he's holding his face and stuff. They're by the fire and everything, and he's like, he set up this plan and stuff, which honestly, that was the one thing that got me. Like at the end, they don't show the whole scene, but I'm assuming that Enigma told Penguin the whole story. He's like, this is exactly what happened, and they don't know that Butch wasn't actually going to kill Penguin, because he didn't say it to Enigma. He never said, I was never actually going to kill him. I just wanted to be the hero. He should, and I was like, the whole episode, or during that moment, I was like, man, would this change if he told him he never actually wanted to kill him, but then he went through with it? Because like he never even said it, like, I never even wanted to kill him, but then it was like he had the opportunity, or Butch thought he had the opportunity to kill Penguin, and it's like, well, I wasn't gonna kill him, but hey, if the opportunity presents itself and I get even more power than just being the hero, I'm gonna go for that. And it was just surprising. I was like, man, if he just said I never wanted to kill him, would this stop everything? Like, would Enigma, especially with it being Riddler, would he be able to tell the truth, in that instant? Like, oh, I never actually was trying to kill him. That's why it was like this. That's why it was set up this way. It was never to actually hurt him. It was just meant to freak him out, and then I get to be the hero and take the guys out. So it just made me think it was one of those little things where it's like, man, would this moment actually change if he said that, or would they still, be at odds so much that he'd still be forced into the situation, no matter what. But sadly, he didn't say it, and he was, pushed into it because he thought that Riddler got to Zaz, and it's like, they got to Tabitha. So of course he decides to go through with it, and we find out that there are no actual bullets in the gun. And then he gets shot in the back. I thought he was going to die, because it looked like he got shot in the back to me. But I guess it was that he got shot in the leg and not the back. But it looked like he was like, ah, like that. I thought he got shot in the back twice. I was like, oh crap, they're about to kill Butch off. But he's still in there, which I actually like. I really like Butch as a character. And he's gone through some insane stuff. So I don't even know where they're gonna go with this arc now. He might do his own thing again now that Nigma's kind of pushed him out, and it's like, well, now I'm super effing pissed. Like, and he did take the chance. He didn't explain himself either, because I feel like he even had the chance when he's like, man, I only teamed up with him because, um, he had Tabitha. That was the only reason, because he still said no. Like, he didn't explain, like, I never wanted to hurt him, but he still said no. He was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I guess it wouldn't have mattered then, because considering he did say, he wasn't going to do it, maybe, Nigma was like, oh, well, he's only saying that because he doesn't want to share it. He just wanted to take over. So, I don't know. Either way, it played out the way it did. So we just have to see where it goes from there. But I wanted to talk about that scene at the end with Ed and Penguin, because it just seemed like if they're not hinting at that, then I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know why they would possibly give them those sort of scenes like that where they're that close, and like him giving them tea, that was nothing. I was like, alright, that's the thing Penguin would do. But like when he was holding his face and stuff, I'm like, they're about I thought he was about to kiss him, and then he just hugged him. I was like, oh, that was actually kind of disappointing. And it was funny to say that, because I'm like, I never cared if they were a couple or not. But then it's like, well, now they're building it up, and I always loved the two of those characters together. But like for them to actually be a villain power couple, now that I think about it, if they did end up making them a couple. But I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. But I was like, man, that would be very interesting, and it would actually add to their dynamic as characters, because with us knowing what they become in the future, how would that play out? How long would they stay together, or would things just become so crazy that eventually, after the whole mayor thing, what would happen there? Like, would it still work? Would it not still work? Stuff like that. So I don't know if they're going to do that. I kind of hope that they do at this point, based on what we've seen, especially in this episode. Like, that would just be, that's more than a hint. And to not follow through with that would just be disappointing. So, personally speaking, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I don't have an actual preference either way. But at this point, I guess I do have a preference now because of that specific ending. I do want them to be a couple, and if they aren't, then that would suck, because it's like, well, that was like, that, like I said, that's beyond hinting at something. That's like, you did that on purpose, and then it's just like, nah. It was like, what was the what was the point then? Because that's really stupid if they don't end up being a couple and they have like a crazy scene like that where it seems like that they would actually end up kissing. So if they don't, then those are just really weird scenes. That's all that makes that. Is like, that's just a weird scene to do, especially just the way they shot all that stuff, him holding his face, all that extra stuff, and then it ultimately leads to nothing. That would honestly be really weird. So I assume that we're gonna see the Penguin and the Riddler as an actual couple in this season, and that would just be interesting. And I don't know if that would make them crazier or sane, or more, well, sane period, I guess, because they are both still real crazy. So I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it would work kind of like Tabitha and Barbara, because Barbara doesn't seem as crazy as she used to. She seems like she's really relaxed. I can't tell if they're actually in a relationship or not, or if they're just, the girls hanging out, because that was like their weird thing in the beginning, is that they were kind of in a relationship, but not really. So it's kind of like the same thing now, but we'll have to just see where it goes. The rest of the episode, though, was definitely entertaining. I do want to jump on the one thing that I did hate, though, and I kind of called this, and I was like, I hope that they don't do the generic thing where we have the infected character who doesn't tell anybody, and that's exactly what happens. Barnes didn't say a single thing to a single person, and he's trying to get his information and stuff, and it goes through, it's kind of normal until we get to the end of the episode. And this is another thing, like this I actually did call, because I was like, he'll probably get it where he doesn't feel pain, or he'll get super strength or something, and he'll start walking without the cane. And that's exactly how they ended it, where he hops up, and I'm pretty sure he was using his other hand, but because I'm pretty sure he was using his right hand, but his left hand is the one he normally leans on. But he just realized, like, oh crap, I don't feel that pain anymore. I don't have to use the limp. And so I'm assuming it's him having super strength, his body is kind of healed. And that would be cool if even if after they heal him, he doesn't have to, or cure him, I guess. He's still healed from that injury, and he doesn't have to use the cane. I would think that would be a pretty cool way to do it. And that way he isn't, like, killed off or something, because that would kind of suck. We already lost one commissioner right when she was getting super epic, too, and they killed her off, and I was like, oh, that effing blows. So, hopefully he doesn't end up getting killed off. I don't want them to bring in another commissioner or another chief or whatever. I can never remember what position he's in. I'm pretty sure he's just the chief. So, hopefully, that doesn't end up happening. They find a cure and he's fine, but he's got the super strength now. He always has super strength. Michael Chiklis, in everything except the shield, has had super strength. He used super strength in Fantastic Four. He had super strength in, it was some show, I can't think of the name of the show, but it got canceled. It was about a family that got, like, superpowers. He had super strength in that, and now he's got super strength in this. Like, every time he's in something superhero related, he only gets super strength. Like, that's all he ever ends up getting. So I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, man, third time I've seen him in a show where it's superhero based, and boom, his power is super strength. So we have that. He'll probably be going crazy a little bit, fairly soon, I would assume. But I don't know. I assume he'll be attacking somebody. I think it might not go the vigilante route. That's what I thought would probably happen, where it would kind of just be total reversal of his character, where he's like he let certain things slide, which he technically kind of did, because when he went to talk to Lee, she was worried about being, like, reprimanded for punching Enigma in the face, and he was like, good job, and he smiled at her because it was like, I effing hate that guy too. So that could have just been a cool moment from his character, or it could be the drugs. I hate to say that that's the drugs. That's, like, the only reason he was cool, but it could have been the drugs, where he's like, oh, no big deal. And if he wasn't on the drugs, he would have been a stickler about it. And I hope that's not the case, and it's just like, that was just an actual cool moment from him. So I'm going to go with that. It was just a cool moment where he was like, I'll let her have that one, and it was just a cool thing that she did that. So he's got his little experiment where he heard about the rats and stuff, and the one rat went nuts, chewed through, I think she said, like, 8 cages or almost a dozen cages, something crazy like that, to get to all the other rats and kill them. So I don't know how far things are going to go. It was the same one that had the super strength. So he's got the super strength now, and I assume the crazy killing part is what's next. So we have that to look forward to in some regard. Who knows what it's going to be. But I am excited for that. I think it'll be interesting. We get to see a pretty cool thing with Bruce in this episode. They had a really awesome line when he and Alfred show up at the club. He's like, so is this our life now? It's just, clubs and stuff like that. And I was like, that's a cool little line, because it's a reference to him becoming the typical, playboy billionaire Bruce Wayne. And this is kind of the start of it, where he shows up at all the parties and stuff like that. And I was like, alright, that was a nice little nod to his future persona, where he's like, Bruce Wayne, the billionaire guy, is the real costume, because, like, he's not actually like that. And I was like, alright, that's a cool little line. And they kind of touched on that a little bit before, but I felt this was, like, the most direct that they've ever gotten about it. And I was like, alright, that's actually kind of awesome. He was just like, so this is our life now, huh? We just go to parties and hang out. And I was like, that's a cool reference to what he adopts as his persona, so that people don't, connect him to, being Batman. So I thought that was cool. We have the moment where he admits his feelings to Selina, where they had a couple funny scenes with that, with him and Jim kind of talking about it. But he admits his feelings to her. She actually does kiss him and left him super confused. We see Ivy in this episode, and she messes with Selina, but she doesn't say who she is. And I was surprised she had such a minor role, because they showed, the scene where she's, like, in the flashback, and I was like, okay, she's going to show up in this episode, but she didn't really show up too much. She was with that older dude, so she'll probably, like, go nuts and kill him too, maybe, who knows. But she was messing with Selina a little bit, and then she kind of just let her, run along, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So maybe she'll have an important role, in the next episode, now that she's officially, back in her normal area. She'll go maybe talk to Selina and be like, hey, it's actually me, this is exactly what happened. That'll, of course, have to be the side story, though, because the end of this episode, we see Jervis come back. The freaking Mad Hatter, he took the time, they went full Alice in Wonderland with that one, too. Set up the whole table, dressed the girl up and everything. And then he kills her and uses her blood as ink to write James Gordon's name. And my guess is that no one is actually going to die in the next episode, but it's hard to tell. I mean, I mentioned this before, like when they did the whole first season thing where it's like, alright, these characters lived, but this character died when Mooney killed the other dude. I can't even think of his name anymore. But she killed Maroni, I think was his name, the other mob boss. He's supposed to be alive when Bruce becomes Batman, but they killed him off in this show. So it's like, alright, they have Valerie Vale, who I'm assuming is supposed to be the mother to Vicky Vale, but at the same time, they could switch up whatever they want, and she could end up dying. Like, he could choose to save Lee, and, that they might actually kill a character off, because they got a little bit closer in this episode when she's trying to interview the dude, and he basically kicks him out, and they have dinner. So, now he's had to make this decision between Vale and Lee, and if he lets Lee die, it's not only the woman that he was like madly in love with and they were supposed to have a child and all this stuff, he's going to be a dead man because he had the decision to make, and Falcone isn't going to be too happy that he chose to let Lee die and ruin his son's life. So that could be a way to do it. It would suck to see Lee go. I don't want either of them to die. If I'm being totally honest, I'd prefer if they do the normal TV thing and it's like, hey, everybody's alive, which I'm feeling like they might do. And this is one of those rare situations where I'm like, you know what? I don't mind if something generic happens and they both end up being saved. But I think, and I can't think of the actress's name, but the actress who plays Valerie Vale, I think she's still like a special guest star or something like that. And whenever I see that, I'm like, oh, you're dying. You're either leaving or you're dying. And it seems like she might be dying. So, I don't know. I didn't really notice it in this episode, just the last time I looked. Her name was still like guest starring or whatever. So I don't know if that changed in this episode. They changed it because she became a main character, or how that's supposed to play out. But I'm very excited. It seems like obviously it's going to be the main story of next week's episode. But it looks good. We got the Mad Hatter coming back again, which I was surprised by. I was like, I didn't think he'd come back again at the end of the episode. Like, he didn't show up. There weren't any hints or anything. It was just like boom. Mad Hatter comes back. So, I think he'll be dying, at least in the next episode for sure. But, I liked it. This was a fun episode. I don't know what's going to happen. There are a lot of things that are leading to some cool stuff. We have Barnes, with the virus. We have basically the main story of the next episode. We have Tabitha and Butch. I can't wait to see what they do with that, because I would assume they aren't going to kill either Penguin or Riddler, but it's going to get intense. And I don't know if Tabitha joining up with Butch again to save his life, if that's going to bring a little bit of hell, at least back on Riddler. It might not be on Penguin because he was kind of innocent in the whole thing where he legitimately thought Butch was trying to kill him. But Riddler not so much. Or Zaz. So they might be in a little bit of trouble. At least Zaz. Like, he doesn't show up too often. It was nice to see him. I kind of wish he was in it more because I actually like his character. But I don't know what to expect with that one. That's probably the thing I'm most excited for, or at least number 2, outside of what I know is going to happen. As far as things that are like just up in the air, that's my number 1 thing, is what is about to happen with Tabitha and Butch. It might not happen in this next episode, and I hope it's not a 1-episode thing with them. I hope that this becomes like a big thing for this season, where Butch is like, you know what? I still, Penguin's still cool, everything's fine. He was mad at him. He did yell back at him like, I gave you everything and you treated me like crap. And, basically you chose Riddler over me at the last minute. That was another thing where, like, when they beat up the guys, that was another moment where I was like, Tabitha, I thought was going to at least say something where it's like, hey, this was all a setup. Like, they held me hostage and kind of forced him to fake shoot you and stuff. And I was like, there's a lot of stuff I felt should have been said by one of the 2 of them. And none of that happened. She just kind of let them argue back and forth. She didn't try to explain anything like, hey, this is what's really happening and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, there's some words that I think could have easily solved that situation and kind of kicked them out. Because, like I said, during that scene towards the end with Penguin and Riddler. But like, there's no way he explained everything that happened. Like, there's no way he was like, I set up Butch to fake shoot you. That's the only reason that happened. He had to have been like, yeah, he tried to do this, and, he didn't tell him, like, he said no. I'm sure he didn't do that. I'm sure he was just like, I set him up, and he totally said yes, and then I gave him the fake gun, and I had to prove it to you. He didn't say all that extra stuff for sure, so that could still come out, and then that could cause a rift between Penguin and Riddler. Not 100% sure, but there's just so much potential in that it has me really excited. But I really enjoyed this episode for what it had. Has me super excited for what's coming up next. We had some good action in this. We had some interesting suspense. They kind of brought back the Red Hood gang and stuff, and the stuff with Butch I thought was more serious than it was, and then we find out he just wants to be important again. I was like, man, this is actually a nice little twist to it. It wasn't just, I'm mad now, I want him dead. So I like how they kind of played around with the idea and all the kind of cliffhanger storylines that we have now. I'm really excited for it. But of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I want to know what you guys think is going to happen with Jim's deal with, the Mad Hatter. Like, who is he going to choose? Are they both going to live? They definitely both aren't going to die, so I don't think there's even a reason to ask you guys if you think that'll happen. But if they did, that would be absolutely insane. That would be super ballsy. But I just don't see that one happening. But I do want to know your predictions for what's going to happen during that storyline. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.